Hi Blue Marble Riders, hope you're well and 2020 is running smoothly for you and your bike. Now it's been a year since I bought my Kawasaki Z900RS, and while I absolutely love the bike, there are a few things I think you need to do, and some I just plain want to do, to make the bike more to my taste.
So stick around and stay tuned to part 1 of Essential Mods for the Kawasaki Z900RS.
Kawasaki.
If you watched my review and subsequent new bike vids on the Z900RS, then you'll remember that I said I would keep the Big Z stock for a year and get to know it before I started to farkle it. The idea when I purchased this bike was to fill a hole in my garage that emerged after I sold my beloved cafe racer a few years ago. Well, it's been a year and it's time to start modding this bike. So I'll be doing a whole series of videos on my mods to the Kawasaki Z900RS. Before we get to today's mod, the installation of the Chic Design Road Comet fairing, let's talk about some of the mods I would like to do in the future and in upcoming videos. So right now this bike is essentially bog standard. If you remember the original review I did on the bike, one of the areas I didn't like was the fact that the front fender flung up all sorts of gubbins into the radiator and onto those 4 deliciously gorgeous double-walled exhaust headers. So I decided what I would do was I would purchase a fender extender from Power Bronze UK for about 25 quid. What's that, about $40 Canadian? I did not want a radiator guard because the bike runs warm anyway, and covering that would only worsen it. Which would bring me to another vital mod that I'm going to do, but more on that in a minute. So I went for the Power Bronze front fender extender, which is great quality, relatively easy to fit, and matches the bike perfectly. You do have to be careful when you install it that it's not touching the tire at the very back end of it. This has done a sterling job of protecting the rad and keeping most of the crud out of the pipes. Some of you are going to argue that it spoils the aesthetic of the bike, and perhaps that's true, but for me, that minor change is worth it. One other mod that I've done is to replace the stock oil cap with a metal one, which requires a large Allen key to get it off. In the future, I'm also going to install a tail tidy, also from Power Bronze, which is about 95 quid or $150 Canadian. I quite like the stock arrangement, but I want to see what it would look like with a tail tidy. Another area is the seat, and while it's fairly comfortable, I'm going to replace some of the stock foam with some higher end, lower density foam, and to change the cover to a diamond patterned seat cover. I'll cover this in a separate video, excuse the pun. Perhaps the most essential mod I'm going to do, particularly for you folks living in warmer climates, will be an ECU flash. Like many bikes these days, the Z900RS comes from the factory leaned right out in order to pass the Euro 5 emission standards. While not an issue below 15 Celsius, this leads to rougher idle and engine running below 3000 RPM, in my opinion, especially when the ambient temperatures climb. In order to make the bike as buttery smooth in warmer temperatures as it was when I first tested it back in November 2018, I'm going to remove the ECU and send it away to be flashed. There's a place not far from me that will flash the ECU to increase the fuel mixture and smoothen out the idle and low RPM running at higher ambient air temperatures. The cost is about $300 US. The mod I'm going to do today, though, is perhaps the most significant cosmetic mod that you can do to the Z900RS as it changes the looks of the bike. In short, I wanted to add a bikini fairing to the bike. So why, you ask, didn't you buy the cafe version of the Z900? Well, the reasons are: 1, I don't really want a cafe bike. The bars on the cafe are lower, the overall height of the bike is lower, and it's not a look that I want to go for. The Z1, the Z900, the Z1000, they were never cafe bikes. The cafe bikes came from the 60s. And as you've seen previously, I've already done that. No, I wanted something that represented an authentic 70s to 80s UJB superbike. So I went looking for a more traditional 70s or 80s style bikini fairing. Enter the Air Max headlight fairing. It was okay, but the stripes on one side, and it was just too small. And the Lancer fairing looked like a welding helmet, all industrial, nothing artistic. Now the Puig bikini fairing, that was starting to look more like it. But then, Oh yeah, I stumbled upon this, the Chic Design Road Comet fairing. What a looker! When you look at the Z with that fairing on it, if you cup your ear in the general direction of Bologna, Italy, you can actually hear the sound of the Panigale and Monster engineers at Ducati being fired. It really does look that good. Then I stumbled upon their source, Samurider.com in Japan. I had to have one, and 3 weeks later, they had sent me one. And I couldn't wait to get this thing fitted. So let's go.
So let's take a look at this cowl or fairing first. Here it is. You can have gold and silver flashes added on the sides here if you like, but I chose not to, as I just like the overall look without them. The fairing comes in many matching Z900RS colors, and you can even order it unpainted or with extra stripes. I'll include pictures of some other versions that you can get. The screen or the windshield, like this one below, comes in clear or smoke, like this one. It comes with all the stainless fittings and has 3 relatively easy instructions to follow, although these things are never perfect, are they? You might need to go on the internet to have a quick look, or carry on looking at my vid, because I'm going to go through the installation of this with you. The price of this version is about 41,000 yen for the smoke screen as well, which equates to about $380 US or $499 Canadian at current exchange rates. Takashi, one of the guys there, is excellent to deal with, prompt, polite, and the service and quality of the Shield is first class. I'll put a link under the notes for the video. So let's get cracking and install this delicious looking fairing. Before you do this, you're going to need some tools, and I've laid them out here. You're going to need a Phillips screwdriver. You're going to need 2 8mm wrenches or spanners, as you'd call them, 12mm spanner or wrench, and then some sockets. And basically the sockets you're going to need are 12mm to take off the headlight side bolts, and to put on the replacement headlight side bolts you'll need 14mm. You need a driver, and finally you'll need 3 types of Allen key. You're going to need a number 3, a number 4, and a number 5. The 5's great for taking off the bottom bracket, and you'll see me doing that. There's a bottom bracket attachment point, but for putting on the replacement part they give you, you're going to need an Allen key, just like that. This won't fit into the small space. So they're the tools that you will need. And you're going to try to put this grommet, like I have right here, into this cowling. But you're going to have difficulty, and the reason you're going to have difficulty is because it's got a little bit of a bushing inside it there, and you need to get that bushing out. Otherwise, now you can deform the grommet and you can get it into the other side here. So here I go. I may have to speed this section up. I'm going to put my little bushing back down there so I don't drop it, and I'm going to deform this and try to get it in there. Now, as you can see, what I've got here is I've got the grommet, but it doesn't look great, does it? So what you have to do is you basically have to pull up on the lip here and let it set properly in there. And I just go around and lift the lip up all the way round on both sides to make sure it's there. And there it is. Nice, by the way. Nice to have them and not just a solid. It allows for a little bit of movement. Now you're going to place that bushing inside it, insert it all the way through, and that is the first step. Once you've got the bushings in, the next thing you're going to do following these is you're going to insert the screen. You'll need the 8mm for these little screws, which we're going to use to screw the actual smoked screen in onto the cowl. Do not over tighten them. If you do, you risk cracking the screen. There are these little plastic washers. Be careful you don't lose them. They're clear and they're hard to see. And then I'm reaching through, feeling for it. I'm just going to loosely screw it in until I've got all of them on there, and then I'll be able to position it. So I'm going to tighten these up carefully, get this going with my number 3 Allen key, just holding my finger tight at the back there, just to get them going first of all. There we go, and then I'll put my 8mm on the back once I've got them all to about the same tightness here. Just hand tight, it just doesn't need to be, you know, wrenched or cranked on there. It would be nice if there was some torque settings. Okay, there it is, looking sporty already. It's going to be going on here like this, so you can see how low it is going to sit. It goes around, it's going to be sitting like that. One thing you'll notice immediately is the shield bumps the brake reservoir, the front brake reservoir there. And so that's okay. We've got a fitting there that will shorten that and move it out of the way. So for now you can put that aside, because before you put this on, there are other things that you will need to do. Next, and very important, before you put the cowl on, you're going to need to attach the bottom brace for the cowl, and it's going to go literally right there under that screw. This brace will sit inside the cowl will come up underneath it. The first thing I'm going to do before I do anything with the light, and we will have to take the light apart in a second, before I do that I'm going to remove the port screw if you're looking forward, or the right screw if you're looking back. On the top there, it's a hex Allen head, and I do believe it's going to be a number 5. That came off relatively easy actually. So you're just going to need a good old-fashioned Allen key number 5 in order to install this. It's going to go this way round with the bolt facing up. This should fit, the horn should fit. On some models of bikes they change the adapt to the fitting back here, but for the Z900RS you don't need that. The next step after putting in that bottom bracket is to remove the headlight. You only want to remove one of the side bolts at a time so you don't change the aim of the headlight. So the first thing to do is to remove the headlight cover. Number 4 Allen key, get this off. It should go right about there. I hope you can see that right there. It's black, and there it is. So number 4. Much better lighting here. Hope you can see that. There's the washer. Make sure you keep that. A little bit of a jiggle wiggle. Bottom came loose. Top seems still fixed in. There we go. Okay, that's out. Going to put that over here. Don't turn that. That will be an adjuster for how high or low or side to side. It's probably right to left actually. So you don't want to turn that one there, but you want to get these 4 out, and that looks like it's going to be Phillips. Okay, turns out you don't actually, I think, need to remove the headlight. You can just remove these screws that hold it in place, let it flex. It's actually on the adjuster there, and it's flexing a little on the adjuster, but I don't really want to undo that whole thing and have it out of whack. So what I'm going to do is reach around with my wrench or spanner, my number 12, and I'm going to socket it off here and insert those other ones. And they say do one of these at a time. Wow, long thread. Looks like it should go through. There's a cutaway there for it to go through. I'm going to put this in here. It's definitely one of those 2-person jobs. That's nice. I don't want to go any tighter than that. Tight enough. It's got rubber mountings. It's not going to vibrate loose. That's good. Okay, to the other side. So she comes off pretty easily. Was the initial crack, and then off it comes. Slide it through. I can feel it working into the nut right now. Okay, so that's on. Next thing I'm going to do is reinsert these screws here. So we put the headlight surround. Now, because there's a risk in this next part when you remove this brake reservoir, because there's a risk of dropping something on the tank, I am going to take the actual packing material, some of the packing material, they sent the cowling to me in, and I'm just going to wrap it over the tank. Okay, so don't forget to tighten that up, but they say leave it loose right now so you can do the little adjustments on it. Okay, here we go. We're just about ready now to install the fairing, the cowling if you like. So the moment of truth, how do I line things up correctly? Will I need to adjust the brake, the brake fluid reservoir at the top? Will I need to adjust the fitting at the bottom? This is the first one. I'm going to put on, and I'm just going to do it hand tight. Wow, things fit well. I was expecting I would have to jiggle a lot more, but things so far so good. That's hand tight right now on there. 2 screws to go into the side, and wow, that seems to line up absolutely perfectly. That's very nice. It seems to go straight in. What great fitting. Beautiful craftsmanship. This thing fits a treat. Headlight looks centered. The distance around it looks pretty darn good. It's cleared up there. It's cleared here. Is it touching either of the clocks? No, it isn't. It isn't touching the clocks at all. That's awesome. So I think I will finish tightening these up. Good.
That was an easy install, and although looks are subjective, I think you'll agree the Chic Road Comet fairing is a looker. I went for a 70s, 80s UJB superbike look, and that's just about as close as you can get. Love it. It's pretty grisly outside right now, but I will update you when I do a ride review of the fairing on how the fairing handles the airflow. From what I've read on the various forums out there, buffeting is not an issue, but we'll see. I will get back to you on this. And of course, I'd like to thank the guys at Samurider.com for their support and excellent service. I'll leave their link below in the notes. And finally, I hope you enjoyed the first in the series of my essential mods for the Kawasaki Z900s. In the future, there will be more and subsequent mods that I do on this. Keep checking back. I don't only do installs, but I do reviews, trips, tours, basic vlogs, and pretty well anything motorcycle.
Once again, thanks for watching everyone. If this is the first time you've watched, please consider subscribing. I do product reviews, motorcycle reviews, off-road and on-road vlogs, as well as tours. Don't forget to follow me on social media, that's Instagram, Facebook and Twitter, and to like, and especially, I'm begging you here folks, subscribe. This is the BlueMarbleRider, out.